Look at Lauren come out of the netherworld.
Yep, I'm usually running in circles. Usually
Wow.
chasing
Just got an
down-
email that the toy store is closing.
What?
That news.
What?
Yeah,
I
we just
got
got
an
word
email
they
that the
sent
toy
out a
store
notice
decided to
today.
Close.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a done deal.
No.
Yes.
It's part of it's a casualty of homeschooling.
Oh,
Uh,
such lovely people.
Yeah, we have our fingers crossed that maybe someone will rescue it again, but
Not a surprise, I guess.
yeah.
I think that's the challenge as we go forward in the next couple of months, is seeing if we can keep businesses hanging on until we can reopen. I think ultimately for every city, that's going to be the challenge.
For sure.
Okay, it's top of the hour, and I want to welcome everyone to tonight's San Marino City Club webinar featuring our San Marino Mayor, Ken Udy. The webinar is being recorded, and attendees may submit questions by clicking the Q&A icon. And I'd like to now introduce City Club President Kelly Ryan.
Yay!
Thank you all. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad that you could join us. I may look a little different than the guy that sat in the chair, who's somewhere on your screen, and you can see Lauren Kleinrock. This is another year of City Club. We are getting better at Zoom. It's only taken us like 10 months, but don't worry. I also want to note that there was a very peaceful transition of power. That there was no attempt whatsoever for anyone else to try to take this job. And probably for a whole bunch of good reasons. I do want to say a couple of things before we get started. I think we got a really good meeting. Mayor Udy is going to give us an interesting talk. We've got some great speakers and updates. But first of all, I just want to thank Lauren, who made the transition very easy, who did a great job last year in a very difficult time. I know that many of you struggled with us as we kind of adapted our technology, try to make things a little more interesting for everyone, and try to enjoy ourselves as much as possible. I appreciate all of you who renewed your membership. I'm sure everybody does. But more importantly, I really want to thank those of you who sent in the extra $25. We are overwhelmed with the amount of support that we got from the additional checks. And that'll go to good use as we try to restart our economy and try to keep things local. Honestly, it was overwhelming to see that. I do want to also recognize some people who didn't get a lot of recognition last year. You might see on the screen people you don't recognize because last year you didn't really get to meet them. But there were a couple of individuals who went off the board last year who really did amazing work. And I just want to recognize Robert Tam, who was in charge of membership, Paul Lacon, who was in charge of arrangements, and there was not a whole lot to arrange last year, and Will Bortz, who was in charge of social. And as you know, social was way farther than 6 feet apart for the City Club. So for those guys who went off the board, I truly appreciate the work you did. I know Lauren does. And if Lauren was unmuted, he'd say something, but we're not unmuting him because, as you know,
I still have power.
Mute him. If you give Lauren a little chance to talk, it could be hours. I'm also telegraphing a little bit of Jeff Wilson's presentation. We are cutting him off at 10 minutes. Don't worry, we got that under control. They're 10-minute updates because we knew they'd be a bit longer. Marcella's presentation will go exactly 10 minutes because the city runs perfectly on time. I learned that. So with that said, I'd like to introduce you to the members of the new board. And I'm going to start with who's on my screen. Stephen Choi, who is this year the City Club Secretary. I get that right? Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. And then Jim Tripodis. Jim, why don't you tell us what you're in charge of?
Sorry about that. Membership with Susan.
All right. And so we're looking for members. I don't know if you've noticed, the dues are only $50 this year. Some of you can actually afford it. Mortimer, I'm talking to you. Next on my list is Kylie Chang. Kylie, why don't you tell us what you do?
I am the second VP, and I will be coordinating the some of the school events, donation, and appearing in meetings
Okay.
to promote the club.
Okay, good. Not some other meetings, right? Awesome.
Yes.
And then Monica?
Sorry, yes, hi. I'm here doing communications with Hunter.
And this is the most important part of our job as a club, is that we are now trying to transition Stephen out of running every meeting. And so Monica with Hunter, who I'm going to introduce, are in charge of that. Hunter, say a few words.
Hi, thank you, Kelly.
Get in office?
We're trying to fill Stephen Choi's shoes in communication, so bear with us, Monica and I. Thanks.
Okay, and then the whole reason why I'm doing this, I'm going to introduce next. That's Isaac.
Well, barring from any election fraud, next year I should take over yours, and hopefully it will be a peaceful transition. So this year I'm sitting easy because I know you've got everything set, and the only request I have to the board as well as the membership is that I'm still welcoming some of the speakers opportunities. I have not filled every slot yet. So any of you who has some interesting topics or people that you like to come and speak, please contact me and I'll be happy to accommodate that. Thank you.
Awesome. And then next we have Susan.
Hi, I miss seeing everybody, and please ask your friends to join the City Club and go to our website where they can fill out an application. And as Kelly has said, if you'd like to pay your dues, do that there also, because if not, membership will be contacting you. We want you to stick around this year. Thank you.
Great. And Bob?
I'm your treasurer. Whoops.
Whoa,
Oh,
earthquake. Oh,
earthquake
sorry.
on Mission Street. I'm your treasurer, taking care of the finances and budgeting and monitoring your dues payments, which have been excellent. Thank you very much for getting those checks and payments in.
And then I've got Edward, who is motionless. He's so overwhelmed by the whole Zoom. Oh, there he is. Awesome.
Just for you, Kelly, just for you. Thanks, Kelly. My name's Edward Uwardi. I am the social chair with Calvin Lowe this year and looking forward to putting these things together.
All right. And then Ed Tom.
Yes, hello.
Ed is in a secret lair. I just want you to know that he's not going to actually visibly appear because it's top secret. That's all.
I don't have any makeup on. I look like a mess. I apologize for that.
And then last, but certainly not least, my good friend, Lauren Kleinrock.
Thank you.
That's right. Cut him off right away. You're muted, Lauren.
I'm muted.
You're still muted. No, still muted. We can't read your lips. And honestly, I'm saying that as if you were muted. I would say exactly the same thing, but you really are still muted. So what Lauren's trying to say is that he's glad to be here. There he goes.
Yeah, I said it more cleverly. I said, as you get older, you have more past. I was past school person, past president, but as long as city club, but as long as I don't pass, then I'm okay. Everything's going right. So thank you. And looking forward to another year with a great board and kind of just operating in the background.
You've got a fine background. Anyway, thank you all for the patience as we kind of introduce everybody. You'll get to hear more of them during the year. We do have a lot of very exciting speakers for you. I can't reveal their names. They signed NDAs, so you'll just have to trust me. Why would you disbelieve a lawyer? I don't know. Anyway, to get our program started, I'm passing it to Stephen Choi, who will lead us in the flag salute.
Okay, thank you. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's only a little weird doing the Pledge of Allegiance on a Zoom camera. I just wanted you all to appreciate how awkward that felt. It feels every time I do it. Anyway, let's get our program started. I'd like to introduce Susan Jakubowski, who will introduce our first speaker. Susan?
Thank you, Kelly. I've been delighted to work with Dr. Marcela Marlowe for a little more than 3 years. She is an extremely bright woman who we are most fortunate to have as our city manager. And a very interesting fact about her, she has a PhD in political science with a background in American government, couldn't be any more specifically matched, and probably our only city manager in history who's specifically trained to do this type of work. I have found her to be fascinating, and tonight she will have so much updated information for you with City Hall adjusting during the COVID times. Marcella?
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. I know you're not serving in your Vice Mayor capacity tonight, but I really appreciate that. And I hope to be equally as fascinating this evening. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But mostly thank you to City Club and to Kelly for asking me to be here tonight. I'm delighted to have this chance to reach out to you all and to be on this side of the Zoom meeting. Normally I'm on the black hole part of the Zoom meeting where I can see everybody talking, but I'm not part of it. So it's really an honor to be over here. I'm really happy to be able to connect more with the community and let you know what the city is doing. Obviously, these times are very, very strange, strange indeed. And so again, happy to have this opportunity to share with you all. I want to tell you that the city has continued to be here for you from the beginning of the pandemic. It's hard to believe that we're coming up on almost the year anniversary. We were joking a little bit about that today. It's dark humor. It's because we have to laugh so that we can keep our spirits in the midst of all of this. But we've been here for the city since the beginning. Although City Hall is closed to the public, we've actually been working this whole time on site at our city facilities. We did not go to working from home as many other cities did. We have been here to serve you this whole time. We are, of course, observing very strict safety protocols for COVID. It is important to take care of our employees even while we are serving you and the community, and we've been delighted to do that. Of course, we have not avoided the difficulties of COVID, and we have had some issues go through City Hall in terms of exposures and quarantines and so forth. So we really appreciate the community's patience when sometimes we unexpectedly find ourselves a little short-staffed. So thank you for your good spirits on that front. We prefer to interact with you all in person. It's a much easier way to build relationships and to build community. Sadly, during COVID, the world is turning more virtual, and it's not how we would like to be interacting with you all, but it's what we have at the moment. And so we certainly are trying to adapt to that model. Just in terms of a couple of examples, we've moved to doing more online payments. We've done some already, and more is coming. We know that that's the virtual way of business, and that's the way that we keep ourselves going, is to give you the ability to access us and make payments through our website. So we're going to deploy that a little bit better. But the real hero, I think, during this COVID time has been our community services department. In case you are unaware, our recreation staff has pivoted dramatically to providing lots of virtual programming. They are serving to staff our resident hotline and answering calls from residents. So just a little plug for that. If you have questions, or if you need services, or you even need us to go grocery shopping for you because you're uncomfortable leaving the home or you can't, we are happy to do that for you. Not that I think anybody actually has a pencil and pen ready right at this moment, but I would just tell you that the resident hotline number, just in case you need it, is 626-300-0731. Please go ahead and give us a call. And we've been doing a lot of just outreach into the community. And I think it's like Vice Mayor Jakubowski says, we're bringing the city to the community since the community can't come to us. So we hope you're enjoying some of what community services has been doing. In terms of communications, we've really tried to ramp that up because we know that you need information right now. Things are scary and they're moving quickly. And so we've tried to do an even better job of that than we were previously. We've launched a lot more communications. That's in the form of our weekly briefing, which goes out each week on Thursday afternoon to all residents. The portions that are related to COVID, we're also translating into Chinese. It's important to us that we service our entire community. And we've also taken up a stronger social media presence, Facebook and Twitter. I even have a Facebook page and I might actually start using it soon. So look out. You are welcome to friend me. I will look forward to that. And it's a page that's dedicated to city manager for San Marino. So I'm happy to be inhabiting that. We are pushing out information constantly. We sent out an update today to our weekly briefing list. So if you are not on that list, get on it. You can find it at www.cityofsanmarino.org/subscribe. So it's pretty easy. Join our list. That's how we push information out. And if you are on that list, you will be the first to know whatever it is that we know. So we hope to get more names added to that group. As I said, we are still here serving you, serving the community, trying to do what you need us to do. We're not all working in exactly the same places. Like I said earlier, we've been observing safety protocols. So we have some staff working over at the library. We've moved people around since our council meetings are now taking place in the very large space at the San Marino Center. We have some office desks now moved into council chambers. So we're trying to utilize all of our space. So you might find it slightly harder to figure out where the person is that you need. And so if you have problems, there are two contact pieces of information. The phone number is our regular City Hall phone number. It's 626-300-0700, and we will get you to the right person. If you prefer email, and I know some of you do and some of you don't, but if you do, that's fine. You can email my office at citymanageroffice, all one word, at cityofsanmarino.org. So again, it's city manager office, all one word together, at cityofsanmarino.org. And we will make sure that your question gets to the right person and that we will get you the answers that you need. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We want to take care of you. So a final word about vaccines. There seems to be some interest in that today. So I wanted to race through the earlier part of my presentation and maybe drop off a few things that I was planning to say and address the vaccine issue. It is confusing and things are changing on a dime, and we appreciate that. Again, as I mentioned, we pushed out a communication today to our weekly briefing email list on vaccines. So as soon as we get information, it's going out, which is why you want to be on that list. www.cityofsanmarino.org/subscribe. But let's talk a little bit about that. So kind of a final word about COVID and vaccinations. We are, as I think most of you know, at the mercy of the county's Department of Public Health. We do not have our own public health department, and so we are governed by LA counties. I know this is confusing, especially because we have Pasadena sitting right to the north of us that has their own public health department. That means that they have different rules, they have different protocols, they got their own allocation of the vaccine, and they aren't going to share it with us because they can't. They're prohibited from sharing it with us. So we are at the mercy of LA County, and that's been true for everything so far during this whole pandemic in terms of testing, what's been open and what's been closed, and now, of course, vaccines. We really do need to follow the county's protocol. As I mentioned, we do push information out as quickly as possible, but I guess I just want to say we're basically pushing out information from the county. So it might be more interesting to you to go directly to the county's website and get the information straight from the proverbial horse's mouth. Otherwise, we will, of course, continue to try to push it out. And if you just Google LA County Department of Public Health, it will take you to the page. I'm trying not to throw a bunch of websites at you in this conversation. But the bottom line is that vaccines, theoretically, I shouldn't say it that way. What I should, not vaccines are available, but appointments to get the vaccine are now available for people that are age 65 and older. Please understand, as I think most of you do, that the fact that you can make an appointment now doesn't actually change the number of vaccines that LA County has available. And the website that they have set up that went live today has many glitches, crashes quite a lot, and we seem to have some 50-50 success in terms of who's able to make an appointment and who's not. So we've heard from some people who've been able to make an appointment relatively no problem. And then we've heard some other people who have had lots of difficulty. It's very frustrating. It's a counterintuitive website. It's everything that you would expect in the middle of a pandemic. So if you do want to try to make a vaccine, I wish you the very best of luck, and will tell you to dedicate some time to it because it will probably be a frustrating endeavor. It's not ours. The website isn't ours, but I certainly will apologize on behalf of, I don't know, all government everywhere for the frustration that everybody is having. So if you don't have information about the vaccine and you don't want to track down the county's website, you're welcome to go to one of our social media pages or our city website, or again, sign up for that weekly briefing and we will get the information out that's updated. But the links to those websites are available on our website so that you can find it. Again, there are glitches, just kind of be prepared. And then just the last caution that I would make again about the vaccines is please just remember that even if you're able to make an appointment for the vaccine, that doesn't mean that they're going to have enough doses for it. So they're still at the mercy of other departments, other governmental agencies. So continued patience and good spirits are the order of the day. But I will just conclude at 9.5 minutes, Kelly, just for you, that the city is here to serve you, and we will do that in any way that we can. So if you have questions that you're not able to answer anywhere else, again, call City Hall 300-0700 or email my office at citymanageroffice@cityofsanmarino.org. Thanks so much, City Club. It's great to be here with you tonight.
See, just like I said, right on time, perfect, with the information that we need. I greatly appreciate it, Marcella. Thanks again for coming and finishing precisely on time. I like to run a tight ship. I learned this from a judge that I meet once in a while who yells at me if I'm not on time. So anyway, at this point, I'd like to introduce Lauren, who's going to introduce our next 10-minute update.
All right, there we go. All right, it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Jeff Wilson, the San Marino Unified School District Superintendent. It's my great pleasure because although I enjoyed all my years in San Marino, it's my pleasure that he's the superintendent now, not me. This stuff. So Jeff's going to talk to us about update on the San Marino School District during these uncertain times, of which they certainly are. I can't even know if you're getting an appointment for a shot after you signed up for it. Anyways, going to talk about COVID and the reopening of school and what they're doing with it, and maybe a little bit of local funding. And so, Jeff, you're on.
Thank you, Lauren. Yes, and I'll take Marcella's extra 30 seconds that she left on the table here at the end. I want to thank Lauren and Kelly and City Club for their support. You know what? I'm starting to feel my age. Kelly made a joke of this when I came on, but my wife and I are painting the family room this last weekend, and I fell off the ladder not once, but twice, and ended up flat on my back for a couple of days. And that's when we decided from here on, we're going to hire people to paint for us. So rough weekend here in the Wilson home. Lauren's been a great friend, a great support. He is there for me for chats to help educate me, providing me support and lots of stories, of course, as Lauren as well does. First of all, we do have a new board of education. The president is Shelley Ryan. The vice president, Corey Barbary. The clerk is Jane Chan, one of our new board members. And our members are Joseph Chang and another new board member, Julie Chan Lin. We had our first official meeting last week, and I'm looking forward to, with great excitement, to the future here in San Marino with our new board. I do want to pause and thank Lisa Link and Chris Norgard for their many years of faithful service to the district and for really committing the time and doing that without pay and being there for this community for so many years. Like the city, we have personnel in our offices, but we are officially working remotely. Our board meetings are on Zoom these days, and that has worked out fairly well recently. And we continue to work with the city on various projects as we move into the spring months here. But I know what you're interested in is how is the schooling going with our kids and what does the future hold? Well, first of all, we tabbed our new looking at school as the Virtual Academy of San Marino, and SMUSD's rigorous teaching and learning continues. Our teachers, our counselors, psychologists, our principals are going above and beyond the call of duty to really put together a wonderful and rigorous education for all of our kids. Our maintenance and operations staff are working day in and day out to ensure that we're safe and secure and that we're planning for the eventual reopening of the sites. Our nutrition workers are out there every single day on the front lines, serving great meals to our families in town here. We do have on-campus programs. They are temporarily suspended for the month of January due to the surge in cases of COVID. We've had athletics at San Marino High School with conditioning and skill building with over 200 athletes. We have programs of small cohorts of students with exceptional needs, and we have been offering extended daycare as well. Like I said, those programs have been suspended for the month of January. The big question out there is the transitional K through grade 2 waiver program announced by the county a couple of months ago. Right now, that program is on hold. In fact, it has been superseded by a state program, a waiver program. And we are not allowed to open our schools right now until the case rates in LA County come down to below 25 per 100,000 and hold steady there for 5 days. And just to put that in perspective, right now in the county, as of the end of the week, the case rate was 77 per 100,000, which is the high mark. So I will say that we are ready at our sites, and our teachers have been preparing for this since summer. Another piece of the puzzle, as Marcella referred to, is the vaccines. And we are waiting a sign-up program that's supposed to hit in the next week or two to get our teachers to begin vaccinations in early to mid-February. And I could tell you my daughter took the Pfizer vaccine. She had her second vaccine last week. She survived it. It was a little, her arm was sore. She had some fever symptoms, but she made it through there. And it looks like we're all going to be offering that to our educators in the month of February and early March. Some of the innovative programs that are happening during this time, dual enrollment and articulated courses with PCC. Our new Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction, who you're going to hear from, I think next month, Lena Richter has come to us from Glendale Unified, and she's been working very hard with our own high school, Mr. Kurtenbach, and with Pasadena City College to identify some courses for the fall. We're working on an intermediate business articulation course with PCC, and we're likely to have in place for the fall a kinesiology and American Sign Language course. And we continue to work on developing authentic vertical pathways from middle school through high school to PCC. And we look forward to some exciting announcements in the future about that. Our PT affiliate summer program last summer, I remember when we were shut down and Stephanie Duncan came to me and said, what are we going to do here, Jeff? We can't offer, real programs or physical programs. And, they just jumped in and they offered a virtual program that was absolutely outstanding. It surpassed everyone's expectations and actually became a model for our reopening in the fall. So we are anticipating, if things don't clear up by summer, that PT affiliates will once again offer a virtual summer program, but we're really holding out hope that they're able to offer an in-person program. We continue to pursue partnerships and strengthen the current partnerships we have with Caltech and the Huntington Library, and we're looking to expand to other professions and institutions. Our school district where we live is in such a strategically important place that offers so many opportunities for expanded partnerships. As far as extracurriculars and parents, there's a lot happening in our school district right now that is ordinary to a normal school year, but is extraordinary in how it's happening. For instance, our wellness initiative. Of course, we opened the Wellness Center a couple of years ago. We were very fortunate this last year that we were able to hire Tanya El-Hendi, who's a specialist in wellness, to run the center for us at the high school. She's also working with our middle and elementary schools as well, because in this time right now, we are receiving much feedback that our students are struggling, not just academically, but in their mental health. And she and our counselors are doing a wonderful job in reaching out to our kids. We're having virtual activities. For instance, Fox Friday at Huntington Middle School. Kids are still dressing up in their spirit wear, and Mr. Topalian's doing a wonderful job of exciting our kids. Our high school, they hosted the SAT in December, and it went beautifully. About 200 people showed up to take the SAT, and we do have a plan that's continuing to host a PSAT on January 26th, though that may be a victim of the current surge, but we're holding out hope that that's able to happen. I'm sure most of you have seen one of our performing arts concerts online. It's extraordinary what our teachers are doing to produce amazing individualized videos that come together literally in concert in a virtual way. Also, our clubs, many of our clubs continue. Yearbooks are underway. We had Red Ribbon Week, the Great Shakeouts coming, book fairs continue at our elementary schools. So lots of really neat things happening for our kids in a virtual way. Also, our PTA is operating in a virtual way. I had my president's meeting on Friday, and It's operating just as it normally does, but virtually. And then, of course, our parent parties are going to continue as well. We have a couple of those coming up. So Lauren mentioned it. I'm just going to address real quickly the financial issues impacting SMUSD. I've spoken before about the local control funding formula, how it's a punitive funding mechanism for high wealth communities. We continue to have rising employee costs with pension increases, health and welfare increases. We have spiraling special education, which are mandated costs. This is a national issue, not just a local issue. Last year, we reduced our expenditures by over 10% for the year, and we're continuing to dig deeper and deeper. We are experiencing declining enrollment. That's a regional and statewide program. And just for us, every one of those lost kids represents $11,000+. And this is why local funding in the form of the foundation and our 2 parcel taxes is imperative for San Marino. And I just want to stress that I'm here right now on my own time. I'm off the clock. And I just want to pause and say thank you to the community. Thank you for your support over the years in supporting our wonderful school district. You know, it is a state expectation that we develop and nurture ongoing stable local revenues. And for years and years and years, of course, we've counted on the $2 million from the San Marino Schools Foundation. They've been amazing in doing that for each and every year. Our Measure E's and R's between the two support over 55 teachers, counselors, and staff. We have very special schools with broad offerings of VAPA, advanced placement and honor courses, along with terrific partnerships mentioned earlier. And of course, Measure E and Measure R help us support and maintain our great property values here in San Marino, and it's why we need the local funding. And in closing, at 9 minutes and 25 seconds, I will give you a quote from School Services. California's tax system, which relies heavily on the wealthy for state income, is prone to boom and bust cycles. While it delivers big returns from the rich, whenever Wall Street goes on a bull run, it forces state and local governments to cut services, raise taxes, or borrow money in a downturn. During the Great Recession, the capital gains taxes that sustained the state in good times plummeted. School districts handed out 30,000 pink slips to teachers, and the state was so cash-strapped, it gave out IOUs when it couldn't pay some of its bills. And I'm at 9:59. Thank you, everyone.
It's, you know what? Thank you for finishing on time. That was like a fact-filled update. I'm a little overwhelmed at this point. I may be kerflumped at this.
It's hard keeping up with Marcella. I mean, she's good.
Yeah, there's a motor mouth thing going here, but it's all good. The City Club needs more concentrated information in a short period of time. And I'm all for it. And it'll be worth, I will tell you, not so much for Marcella, but for you, it'll be worth it. Because at this point, I'd like to introduce Kylie, who's got a presentation for you.
Hi, everyone. This is going to be a little challenge, presenting the big check to Dr. Wilson. So we do have a check ready to go, and we're presenting $1,000 to the San Marino Unified School District. And so here is this is the envelope in which the check will be mailed.
Kylie and City Club. Oh, thank you so much. Go ahead, Kelly.
and I think that Bob Houston actually has a big check. So if we focus
It's a
on
real
Bob,
check. I have the real.
Oh, there it is.
oh,
I got a real check this time, not just.
And the envelope.
it'll be very complicated. Anyway, Jeff,
In the mail.
say a few words if you
Well,
want.
I just want to say, yeah, thank you so very much. Very few words. Obviously, there's a lot of costs associated with COVID-19 and what we've had to do. This money will be used, I suspect, for the safety and security of our kids through whatever. There's lots of uses there. Personal protective equipment, but we do appreciate all that you've done for us. Thank you so much.
And again, thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
Yep. Thank you both, Marcella and Jeff, for presenting. And at this time, I'd like to present Isaac, who will introduce our main event.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Our featured speaker tonight, Mayor Ken Udy. Ken is a 35 years resident of San Marino and was elected to the City Council in November 2017. Ken and his wife, Kathy, raised their three daughters, Carolyn, Kristen, and Allison, in San Marino where they went through the public school system. Professionally, Ken was CEO of a number of private equity-backed companies in a variety of industries ranging from a race car driving school to women's cosmetics and to POTS portable storage. His campaign slogan when he ran for city council was San Marino is a $30 million business and should be run like one. You'll find tonight's State of the City presentation very interesting and how the city of San Marino is run like a business. Let's give our Mayor Ken Udy a big San Marino City Club welcome. Ken?
Hey, thank you, Isaac. Thank you, City Club, for inviting me. And hopefully I shared my screen successfully and you can see that. So if somebody could give me a thumbs up, that would be appreciated. Okay, there we go. Good. No, I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting me. The goal tonight is to, or the end in mind is to give you an update on the city and in the process be as transparent as we can so that we can earn as much of your trust as we can, because I think we have a good team between the council and staff today. And I want to use this time to kind of focus and spotlight on that. So you can see what the discussion outline is that I've created. We're going to set the table, going to talk about what I think some of the bigger issues are facing the city, go through the financial update, talk about what I believe the priority should be for this next year, and then an invitation for those of you that are brave. So in setting a table, we're a city that's about 3.8 square miles, over 120 miles of streets, alleys, and sidewalks. We got 4,300 homes, 13,000 residents. This one surprised me. We have 600 registered businesses in town, and approximately 150 of those are storefronts. We have a little over 100 full-time employees, and we're really proud and pleased to have fully dedicated police and fire departments. We have 65 vehicles, a $37 million budget this year. So yes, Isaac, thank you. I believe San Marino is a $37 million business, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of running it like one right now. The bigger issues that I want to touch on tonight is obviously COVID, public safety, capital improvement program that I think is pretty cool. Dr. Morrow mentioned some of the things the city's been working on with community engagement, trees, historic preservation, economic development, some of our friends you see walking around the streets from time to time, and then finally some of those pressures that are coming to the city from outside, a pension update, and then the financial position of the city. So COVID, as of yesterday, we had 321 cases in town and 11 deaths related to COVID. And Dr. Morrow did a good job of saying that, unlike Pasadena and Riverside and Long Beach, we do not have our own public health department. So we must follow the lead of the county. We can be narrower, but we can't be broader than what the county is. And our goal has always been to be as open as possible with City Hall, with the businesses and restaurants, and with Lacey Park. Dr. Morrow also mentioned that our recreation department did a great job of pivoting and manning the hotline and making proactive calls to reach out to citizens that might not be able to get to the store or not comfortable getting to the store. So far, the expenses to the city has been about $180,000. We think most of that will be reimbursable. So financially, COVID is not taking too big of a lick on us. And then the question we all keep hearing is, when and where can I get my vaccination? And again, Dr. Morrow suggested that you go to vaccinatelacounty.com and, try to do your best if you're over 65 to get on board. I know Kathy and I were fortunate enough to get our reservations for Friday this week. In terms of public safety, we have 27 sworn officers, and look at the number of service calls we had this last year, close to 25,000 service calls. Now you think about that, that's kind of 24/7, a call every 3 hours, or three per hour. Chief Encontro and his team have done a great job of getting residential burglaries down by 17%, but unfortunately larcenies are up by 26%. Most of those, the chief will say, are people that are leaving things in their cars that are visible or not locking their cars, just inviting someone to help themselves. You'll also see around town now that we have 22 cameras on different light poles and such, and so far that's resulted in 13 arrests. We had one as recent as last week that someone had stolen a truck in downtown LA, was coming along Huntington Drive. The camera saw the license plate, matched it with a stolen vehicle, sent out the alert and triggered it, and they were able to catch the person in Arcadia. And then you'll also see that in the next couple of months, we should be launching a motorcycle safety traffic program in San Marino that we hope will continue to knock down the speeds that you'll see on the local streets. With fire, we're lucky to have our fire department. We have 21 firefighters who are also all licensed paramedics that you don't see in every city around Southern California. So they're not only firefighters, but they're licensed paramedics. And we really want to thank Chief Rueda for leading our COVID-19 efforts. It's been an interesting and challenging time for them. You'll see in that third bullet the number of responses that go out, and look at the percentages that go back and forth between into city and out of the city, because I think you're aware that we're kind of on this accordion system through the Verdula Dispatch Center where we help out our neighboring cities and they will help us out as well. So, roughly half of our incidences that we roll to are in the city and about half are outside the city. You'll also notice last year we rolled out a new fire truck for a big check. We ordered a new ambulance, and we also upgraded the apparatus doors on the front of the fire station. The capital improvement program is one that I'm pretty proud of. When this council was seated, we had the recommendation from a group of citizens that looked at the finances of this city, and at that time we had like $25 to $28 million in our reserve account. And we determined that we didn't need that much because so much of our money comes from property taxes and not from sales revenue. So we created a capital improvement fund in 2018, and we initially seeded it with $14 million. And because of the efficient operations as a city last year, we were able to add another $5 million to it. So what have we done? Well, we completed 56 segments of our streets last year. And you look at that 1.8 million square feet of slurry and resurfacing, that's equal to about 32 football fields. We installed 1.4 miles of new sidewalks. At Lacey Park, we were able to rebuild the Rose Arbor and complete the restrooms. And a special thank you to Director Throne, because all of these budgets came in, or excuse me, all of these projects came in under budget, and there was only one that was behind schedule. And maybe that was the, maybe we shouldn't have taken that lowest cost bid on the Lacey Park restrooms because we might have been on schedule if we hadn't. A significant capital improvement program that's going through the pipeline now is a remodel of the San Marino Center. So I wanted to spend a little bit of extra time on this one, because as you might remember, the San Marino Center was originally built in 1952 and has not had a lot of TLC since then. So it's in pretty tough shape. And we had a series of public meetings to get input, and we created an outstanding task force that worked with the architecture firm, with Director Throne and Director Cervantes, and came up with a concept that I'm going to share with you. The goal is to make the San Marino Center and the library look like brothers and sisters. So the exterior is going to look like the library. You can see what this north elevation is along Huntington. And then it was brought to our attention that the library's entrance is on the south side, and the San Marino Center's back is on the south side. So we're going to add some features that you'll see coming up here in a bit to where the back is going to look much more appealing than it currently does. With the work of the task force, it was also decided that we would create a campus type feel between the library and the San Marino Center and make it easy for programs and traffic to egress back and forth between the two. So you'll see the removal of the wall and the additions of some steps. We've created 2 exterior courtyards, one to the north and one to the south. And we're going to do our job to keep all the trees and everything in place. Now on the interior, that large room in the San Marino Center today will remain, but we're going to add 2 dividers. So it can be one large room or partition it up to be 2 or 3 separate little rooms. The fireside room will remain the same footprint that it is today, just upgraded. The current chamber office will become a meeting room and a little bit of storage. We are creating new offices where the old kitchen was for the community services department. Access to the restrooms are going to be coming off of the lobby, not off of the main room like it is today. And then we'll be creating a catering kitchen on that south side that'll have direct access to the exterior, because we believe that most of the programs in the San Marino Center that require food, like the City Club, it will be catered and it won't need to be prepared. Now for the cost of this, and you'll see what an artist, a rendering from the architect of what the exterior might look like, how handsome that is from the Huntington Drive. It's budgeted now to be a $5.6 million program. And if we would change any window, the cost to get the deferred maintenance, the roof, the HVAC, and to make it ADA compliant would be a $3.1 million project. So in my mind, that's money that has to be spent to make it right for the community. So then it becomes a $2.5 million decision, not a $5.6 million decision, which is one reason why I support it. And with the timeline, we hope to get final design in August, break ground, and in a couple of years have this project done and behind us. And now you can see on this rendering too what that south side of the San Marino Center might look like, and envision yourself stepping back a little bit to see what it would look like next door to the Kroll Library. Dr. Morrow mentioned it was high on her priority, and she's done a great job for increasing our community engagement and communications. We've improved the website. We've increased the number of Chinese translations. There's been a big focus on social media, which you can see what the impact of that is. Email subscribers are up 100%, Facebook followers 150%, and the Nix alerts is up 12%. And the Nix alerts is an important one to keep in touch. That's what Chief Encontro uses to get the word out. So again, cityofsanmarino.org/subscribe if you're not a member of that. Now, special word on trees. This city council loves its trees and the trees in the community. And we're now in the final stages of putting together a new tree ordinance where you're going to need a permit if you're going to trim more than 10% of the canopy or remove a tree. You're going to need to use licensed arborists that will protect the trees, and there are fines associated with it. So we're going to do our best to get the education out to, be aware of the tree ordinance, call up City Hall and ask if you have any questions. All remodels require a landscape plan. We actually had financial incentives this past year to plant oaks and other historic trees. And then by the numbers this year, we are up about 41 trees. We planted 112, but unfortunately had to remove 71. And you'll see we have about another 40 trees that are on the removal list going forward that was approved just this last week. Another thing that's been high on the city's radar screen is historic preservation. There's an increasing interest in town to preserve the look and the feel of San Marino, and part of that is understanding what is a historic resource, a historic home or not. So this last year, we completed a survey of all the San Marino's homes. It's online or at City Hall if you want to take a peek at it, see if your home is potentially historic. Interestingly, Kathy, our home is on the list to potentially be historic. So what does that mean? Well, the city cannot force a designation upon anyone, but if you feel there are advantages to it and you want to take advantage of it, it is an avenue that you can consider. Another thing that people are not totally aware of is the economic development program that Director Cervantes is leading. And the goal is really to help our local businesses thrive and to try to attract new businesses to come in. Component to this program included a facade improvement program this last year where we gave out grants to different businesses to upgrade the look of the outside of their facility. We have a marketing and social media program going that's going to launch fairly soon on Shop San Marino or Dine San Marino. We're considering directional signs to help people find the business districts. And we're looking at upgrading the look and the walkability of both the Mission District and some of these shopping areas on Huntington. And to that, we'll probably in our capital improvement program be earmarking some funds to make that happen. So net, we're trying to build on the San Marino brand for the benefit of, our local businesses, because we have a lot of respect for the risks they take. Other department highlights, Dr. Marlowe mentioned that we are welcoming our new community service director, Brian Hayworth, who was working with Recreation on the re-envisioning of it and some of their creative programming. I think I saw a stat last week that they actually touched 743 participants in programs in the month of December. That impressed me. The library is open for the passport business. They put chips on all of the books now to make inventory easier, and they get a setup for self check-in and self checkout of books, and have also been servicing people, our residents, with a curbside book service. And then finally, a shout out to our HR manager, Scott Pilch, who helped finalize contracts this past year with 3 labor unions and our management team. Some of the friends we see or we don't like to see around town. Now, fortunately with PFALs, we can track them and invite them to a new vacation home up in Ventura County, so we can actually relocate them. In this last city council meeting, we did allocate more funds to that. We appreciate their nuisance, and we're doing what we can. Unfortunately, with the coyotes, we don't have the same flexibility with the coyotes that we have with the PFAL. So we don't have anything we can really do with that right now, but we're continuing to look at that. Pressures from the outside that I think should all be on our radar screen. Number one is around additional and low income housing. That's going to continue to be a big deal and a big push in the state. Fortunately, so far, Director Cervantes has been able to, work with the code and have our ADU provision meet our current standard or current requirements for additional and low income housing. But I have the ... for now, because I think that's going to keep coming back to us. And then, Huntington Drive is a huge thoroughfare between downtown and, Arcadia and beyond. So I think traffic in town will continue to be a concern, and we'll do what we can to stay on top of it. Other big issues out there is the unfunded pension liability. As of our audit that this last year, it increased by 9% and currently sits at about a $32.6 million unfunded liability. I think that's to the continued overpromising and under-delivering from CalPERS. And I think this is an issue that is one we're just going to have to keep kicking down the road and, not try to catch up with it till we have to. I think that you'll see in a minute, San Marino's in pretty good shape financially, and there are a lot of other cities that are in not as good conditions. So I think other people are going to have to experience this pain before we do. And then also the other post-employment benefits also went up about 10% last year. Now, financial position of the city. As I mentioned at the beginning, the budget for this current year is $37.4 million. 27.2 is our operating budget, and we've got 10.2 earmarked for the capital budget. Last year, at the fiscal year end, Paul Chung, our finance director, and his team, we had a budget to actual that was within 1%. I think that's due, 1, to an improved budgeting process, 2, to Paul's diligence, and he's a pleasure to work with, and then 3, we have 2 council members that act as financial liaisons with Paul and his team. So we meet monthly to try to stay on top of it and eliminate any surprises. The result of last year's operating plan was we had a surplus of $3.4 million. Our reserve remains steady. It's up to $37.8 million, up from $35.3 the year before. We had, for the second year in a row, a clean financial audit. And if you would look back at the history of our audits 4, 5, and 6 years ago, it was not that pretty. So, Mark, if you're on this Zoom, Mark Siegfried, our controller, thank you for your hard work and your efforts. It's very much appreciated. And a net of that is we were recognized by the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers with the Excellence Award for the last year's operating budget. So when I look at the financials of the city net, I think we're in pretty good shape. I think the current staff and team is doing a good job of, looking after the pennies. Priorities for this next year, to me, it's continue a focus on public safety and support our police and fire departments. The community support of the safety tax is a strong signal to me that that's an important thing to do. The next one is continue to work on our infrastructure and our capital improvement program. Keep working on the streets, the sidewalks, the sewers, and obtain final approval to renovate the San Marino Center. Then the next big one to take on is I'm committed to figure out what to do with the property that Stoneman is currently on. It's an underutilized asset. I think we owe it to everybody to figure out what we should do with it. And I trust this council and this staff to make that decision. And we had such great success with the community task force that helped shape the San Marino Center that I'm hoping we can assemble a similar group to help figure out what to do with Stoneman. I want to encourage the staff to continue to work on its operating dashboards so that we can all monitor the activities of the city, because the activities cause the revenues and the expenses. And I think if you participated in last week's city council meeting, you saw Dr. Morrow take a great first step towards putting some of those operational metrics in place. And then I want to continue to look for more operating efficiencies. We have a number of services like the auditors and the lawyers that we have not, shopped out for a while. So I think it's time that we should, reconsider our relationships to make sure we're getting the best bang for the buck everywhere we can. And then my personal commitment is to run shorter, more efficient meetings. We've juggled the agendas, formatted the agendas, so we're going to be addressing the most important things to the city first on the agenda, so that members of the public that are interested can carve off the appropriate amount of their time and not have to wait for something later in the agenda. And now my invitation to you, and an opportunity for you to give back. I hope some of you will consider running for council in a couple of years. There are 3 seats that the term is going to be coming up. I'm not sure what my colleagues Susan and Gretchen's thoughts are, but I am not planning on running again. So there's 3 seats open, and one is going to be wide open. And if that's not your cup of tea, then please keep on the lookout for the other areas where we need help on some of our commissions and our foundations. And then a special invitation to you that we are in the process now as a group figuring out what our priorities are going to be for the next budgeting cycle. There's going to be a couple of town halls, and the first one is February 1st. So this is a chance for the public to sit down with staff and tell us what's on your mind so we can try to incorporate that into our thinking. So I don't know, that was probably over my 10 minutes, but I want to thank you for your time and look forward to any questions you might have. And I see there are 3. Okay, Shenandoah Road in the south section, south of Fair Oaks, was improved by bringing electric lines underground in 1960. And I'm not sure what the question is there. Okay, is there?
I think it's in the next one, Ken.
Actually, if I can jump in here, Mayor, our Public Works Director is on the call and does understand the question.
Okay.
But apparently it's a relatively complicated matter. He'd actually prefer to be able to dialogue more offline about this. But essentially what this comes down to is it's a request to underground some things that would be done by Edison. The city would need to make the request, but there are certain criteria that need to be met for it to be free, and this street would not likely qualify, which means quite a lot of money that the residents would have to pay for that. So I want to invite the asker to reach out to Michael Throne, who's our Director of Public Works, and our city engineer, and his email address. I don't know, Stephen, is there a way to type it in the chat box or something like that so that the residents can see it?
It would be available on, you could go to the directory on the website and find it.
That's true also. And just for convenience sake, it's mthrone@cityofsanmarino.org. mthrone@cityofsanmarino.org, and he'll be happy to have some dialogue with you on that.
Thank you, Dr. Marlowe. Are there any other questions that people might have? Okay.
We have one attendee that has their hand raised, and Mr. Frank Chen. Can we answer a live question or take a live question? Or no, it looks like he's still there.
Your challenge for technology. Good luck.
Hi, Frank.
Way better.
I believe your line is open. Would you like to speak?
Judge Chen, can you hear us?
He's on mute.
Yeah, I'm asking Frank to unmute here. Oh, he does not have a question. Okay, thanks, Frank.
Are there any other questions people might have?
No other questions right now.
Good.
Awesome.
Well, again, appreciate the opportunity to give a high-level update on what's going on in the city.
Isaac, this is your part.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ken. This has been very informative. I do have one question about the potential timeout for the San Marino Center. As you know, City Club, if we were to go back to the dinner meeting, it will be just about the time when the center is going to be under the renovation. Are there any suggestion, alternate facility that the community can use?
Nothing has been finalized, but clearly we need to talk to City Club and the other users to figure out, what the best win-win solution is. I mean, there are other facilities in and around town that we can probably leverage.
Yeah, we could probably use the council chambers and the foyer in City Hall. That would be pretty cool. Little tables outside, right, Marcella?
We can move the fire engines out of the station and set up some tables.
Yeah, anything in a pinch. And again, thank you, Mayor Rudy, for your presentation. I learned a lot. I learned that I won't be able to purge the trees that I want to kill on my street until there's a change again. So again, a good impetus for somebody to run for council. It won't be me. I've had enough of politics. And again, to all the speakers who spoke tonight, I thank you. These were very informative presentations. I do want to say before we ring off tonight, I really want to give a shout out to the past presidents. Not that any of you have called me to congratulate me, but I guess that's the way the things go in politics right now, is that we as a club have been around for 94 years. And I didn't appreciate until I took over for Lauren how much the past presidents really mean. And I'm only joking. I've talked to a number of you and your support has been tremendous. And so as you attend these meetings, I do truly appreciate everything that the past presidents have done. I've had some great advice as to how to run these meetings. Of course, I've followed none of it, except for the most important part of it, which is keep it short. So with that, I thank you, and I hope to see you all next month. Remember, it's the third Tuesday of the month. And until next time, I say good night.
Good night.